Hey folks, welcome to episode 2 of my Ear Stretching 101 series. If you haven't watched this series from the beginning, please do so or else you will miss out on some very important information. So this episode is all about the different types of tools and jewellery used in ear stretching, as well as the different materials that those things can be made out of. It's important that you know and understand the different types of jewellery and materials because there are certain types of those things that should not be worn at certain times during your stretching process, but I'll get into that more in a minute. Starting off with tools, and first up we have tapers. Now there are two different types of tapers. There's straight tapers and there's spiral tapers, but they should not be used for the same things. Straight tapers can be used for stretching, but only up to a certain size, and I'll talk more about that in episode 4. Tapers are also used to assist with jewellery insertion, so when the piercing is already at the same size as the jewellery, but then the taper is just used to help open up the hole a bit and give a clear passage to the jewellery. Also, I want to make it clear that tapers are tools, not jewellery. A taper should only be in your ear for a couple of minutes before being swapped out for actual jewellery. Wearing tapers long term can cause unevenly stretched lobes where, because the weight distribution is uneven, you can end up with the back of your ear being a larger hole than the front because, you know, gravity happens. Spiral tapers, on the other hand, are not tools for stretching, and so I'll talk more about those when I discuss the different types of jewellery. The next items are kind of tool jewellery hybrids, and those are ear weights. Some people wear ear weights as just jewellery, as decoration, and some people use them to help assist with the stretching process. Either way, ear weights should only be worn for a short period of time, so they're not something that you stick in your ear and wear for 2 weeks straight. That would not be good. The last tool I'm going to mention, and I guess this counts as a tool, is tape. More specifically PTFE tape or bondage tape. These tapes are used for the taping method of stretching, which I'll talk more about in episode 4. And it's very important that you use tape that is actually safe to use and is adhesive free, because you don't want glues and adhesives and stuff getting into your skin, because that would be gross and would probably cause infections, so avoid that. That's why PTFE and bondage tapes are ideal, because they are safe to be used on the skin and they stick to themselves, so they don't actually have any adhesive on them. Moving on to jewellery, and the ones that are most commonly worn are plugs and eyelets. Plugs are the solid ones, whereas eyelets, often referred to as tunnels, though eyelets is technically more accurate terminology, they are the ones with the hole through them. They are hollow, see-through. Both types of jewellery can be found in different flare types. There's no flare, which means that both ends are straight. There's single flare, which means that one end is straight and one end is flared. And then there's double flared, so both ends are flared. Pretty self-explanatory terms. We then have hangers, which are jewellery that hang outside and below the lobe. These come in a huge range of different shapes and sizes and include the spiral tapers that I mentioned earlier. Important note about hanging designs is that they are only worn short term, as in like a day. Wearing them long term can lead to the same complications as wearing straight tapers long term, so you know, the uneven weight distribution and then the uneven stretch. And there are also the ear weights that I mentioned earlier, which are, like I said, a tool jewellery hybrid. Again, these should only be worn short term, and ideally they should be worn through an eyelet. Because they can be quite heavy, wearing them in a naked lobe means that all of their weight is going to be focused in this one part of the lobe. Long term, that can lead to thinning in that part of the lobe, so that's why it's best to wear them through an eyelet, just so that the weight is more evenly distributed across the lobe. Okay, so now we've got tools and jewellery out of the way, let's talk about the different types of materials. Firstly, the best materials to stretch with are steel, titanium and glass. And what I mean when I say the best materials to stretch with, I'm talking about the tapers you use, as well as any jewellery that you wear in a fresh stretch, so a stretch that's only just been done and it's still healing. Steel, titanium and glass are the best materials to stretch with because they are non-porous, meaning that bacteria won't be able to grow in the surface of the material, and also they're not too heavy. Stone is another non-porous material, however it can get quite heavy and fairly quickly. Glass can get heavy as well, especially once it gets into the larger jewellery sizes. You can also find jewellery in various other metals such as silver, gold, brass, etc. But just keep in mind that a lot of those metals can have some inconsistencies when it comes to being contaminated with other metals, things like nickel and copper and stuff like that, as well as the fact that sterling silver tarnishes, so when it goes black and it leaves a black mark on the skin, just keep those things in mind. Acrylic. There are a lot of mixed opinions surrounding acrylic jewellery. For starters, it is a porous material, so it should only be worn in heeled lobes. A lot of people can't wear acrylic jewellery because it irritates their skin, and because it's plastic, it may leach out toxins and chemicals as it warms up. So if you want to wear acrylic jewellery, then go for it. However, I personally would recommend only wearing it for short periods of time, and while you are wearing it, just keep a really close eye on how your skin reacts to it, and if there is any irritation whatsoever, take it out and put in something of higher quality, something that's non-porous. Silicone is my favourite material to wear overnight because it is soft and squishy and a hell of a lot more comfortable to sleep in than harder materials like stone or glass or wood, etc. That said, not all silicone is created equal and there can be varying levels of porosity. Because silicone can have varying levels of porosity, it is best just to wear it in heeled lobes. So if you're going to wear silicone, I would recommend the brand Chaos because their silicone is very high quality and definitely much more reliable and much safer to wear than like the $1 silicone plugs you found on eBay would. And there are lots of different types of woods, so make sure that the wooden plugs you're buying are made of a wood that's actually safe to wear and not from like some toxic tree. Wood is a highly porous material, meaning that it should only be worn in fully heeled lobes, and also make sure that your wooden jewellery is high quality. The surface should be really smoothly finished. There should not be any rough or sharp areas, and if there are, the item is not safe to wear. You've also got other organic materials such as bone, horn and shell, etc. And again, best to wear in heeled lobes and make sure that they are very smoothly finished. So those are the main types of tools, jewellery and materials you will come across. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about the ways that you definitely should not stretch your ears, so please make sure you watch that. Follow me at these places to keep up with what I'm doing, and subscribe so that you know when I next upload. Thank you for watching, and depending on when you're watching this, either stay tuned for the next episode or just go and watch it right now.